In addition to that, we also really want to support people to enable them to do that as much as possible. So we're really keen on the community side, and so we have, for example, a forum which is not only ourselves answering people's queries and helping them develop, but now the community itself does a lot of that for us. Oh, it's jumped a couple. Go back one. Okay, there's a wiki that includes all our developer tools, and the one I want to talk about or emphasise the most was something we call Webmap Builder, which you'll get to play with if you come along this evening, which is essentially a wizard type tool. So although I've said there is a toolkit, it's still, you've got to be familiar with JavaScript, you've got to be familiar with website building to be able to use it. And again, that's sometimes another step for people to be able to use. We've tried to take some of that pain away by creating a wizard tool, which at the end of it, when you go and save and download your code, you get the code that you've generated using selecting options in Wizard. Okay, so here's just some examples. This is Liv Denman's who created the I guess for all the errors that she covered. If you really reading what the example was. Bournemouth City Council, they allow people to report abandoned vehicles. So again, using a map as a way in which people can drop pins on that and say, describe the abandoned vehicle that's left there. There's people who've developed access iPhone applications. I'm not sure what that one is, it's just jumped up. I'm trying to get to one I really, really like. There's a whole number of these, which is this one, which is the red squirrels. I think they've created some lovely markers, so whenever there's various squirrel sightings, then people have been able to plot them on a map, and you get quite a nice interactive feel of that. And after our presentation, Stephen, where is he? We'll be talking about their application a little bit, I believe, and what they've done with open data. And here's an example of connecting to the British Geological Survey's open mapping service and overlaid on top of open space. So mashing up different pieces of data. That's it from me. That's a bit of a rush, but if you want to learn more, please come along later. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. And the third initiative we wanted to mention was Geovation, which is our open social innovation network, helping people solve real problems using geographic information. So the claim geography will be the whole solution, but an ingredient to the solution. So that's, support for that's grown. It's funded a large governance survey, but we've also had funding from the other people on that slide from Technology Strategy Board, Department of Transport, business in the community supporting it as well. So we're interested in working with people who have real problems they want to see solved, and to work with Geovation in a network of networks, using the network effect to help solve real problems. I want to give you a little example of the process. Basically, post up a challenge, think of a great idea that helps to address that challenge. The best of those ideas get invited into a weekend Geovation camp, which is facilitated by some service designers we work with. And I'll come to how that works. And then the best of those get invited to submit their venture plans for opportunity to get some funding, seek funding to start their applications off, or their ventures off, I should say. And the thinking behind it and the methodology is that innovation projects that focus on people's needs, that's problems that people have whether they realise it or not, have double the success rate of and 70% higher market share than those that don't. So if the idea is that it's solidly needs focused, and a camp runs roughly like this. Now, where do we get those real needs from? Well, we get them from other experts working with us. So we ran one called How Can Britain Feed Itself Sustainably? Because the way we do agriculture globally and nationally has to change if it's to do that sustainably. So the problems, the needs were extracted during a powwow with experts who know what they're talking about in that area. That was then put into the weekend Geovation camp, so people's ideas then related specifically to needs that needed to be addressed. And it's a very open process in working through how those ideas came together. And that innovation equals problem time, solution times execution is the way in which the whole process works, the way in which the camp works, and the way in which people's venture plans work. So a lot of people start with the solution as techies. We tend to start with the solution, so you've got this, you know, is it amazing it does this? You know, and how can we apply it? What problem is it going to solve? So we're specifically addressing the problem. The real needs are around here. How can the data, the technology help provide a solution to those problems? And so, don't have to read all the questions, but if that's the little formula, then those are the sorts of questions being asked. You know, what are you trying to solve? Who for? Why does it matter? Is it a real problem? What's the value of it when it's solved? So just taking people through a framework, and most important of all, you know, the thing won't be implementable unless it stands up, washes its own face, as the polite people say. So it's very important that people understand what business model or venture model they're going to use to try and establish their venture so that it sustains itself in implementing an idea that solves a problem. The feedback from the camp has been very strong. This happens to be Claudia from down the road, Centre for Geospatial Analysis, with a great idea around using linked data to link up knowledge of expertise and experience around how to grow things sustainably. But what people come, as they come through the process, the reason everybody enjoys it so much is they learn how to do it better next time, whether they've been successful or not. So I mentioned a challenge we ran earlier in the year called How Can Britain Feed Itself? We funded two people, one, two little organisations, got Helen and Peter here, who set up City Farmers, and they're using geographic information analysis to help bring people to community-supported agricultural schemes and so on, which and help transition towns work together. I'll whip through these. Food Nation is linking local growers to local buyers. With the How Can Britain Feed Itself, how can we improve transport in Britain challenge, we had 150,000 in funding from Technology Strategy Board, and that was won by an organisation called Mission Explore that are addressing behaviour change and working with a number of other organisations there to get children out on the national bike networks. LiftShare won some funding to develop personal travel plans, again a behaviour change type approach. ITP here in Nottingham developing Access Advisor to enable transport systems to be accessible to everybody. They're missing 20% of the population in terms of accessibility. Don't seem to want to move on from this one. There we go. My Society won some funding to produce a mobile application for their Fix My Transport Anywhere thing, which they're launching shortly. Cycle Streets have won some funding to develop their cycling advocacy toolkit. One of the most exciting things, I think, in terms of imagery was the London Cycle Map campaign, a brilliant idea of turning a London cycle network into an underground map. So you use that same underground map metaphor for the topology of cycle routes connected together. So I guess this is how Mission Explore stated was that Geovation helped them launch their website, their iPhone app, and their iPad application, and they've now won a big contract for the Cultural Olympiad, which was announced today as well. So what we want to know, the idea is problem, time, solution, time to execution is the way to solve problems with open data and doing things openly. You really have to know what the problem is and spend time addressing that problem. Just a quick summary from our experience, I guess, is yes, publication is not the same as communication. Most people don't know open data is out there or how to use it. And we're involved with Hanif and a number of open data masterclasses to promote how open data can be used. Those 5 C's of Charles Ledbetter are very important. Innovation equals problem time, solution time, execution. Ease of access and ease of use by people who aren't us is paramount. And we really need to be exploring new value and service models. And I advise you to go and see ppoople.com. And if you really want to know about that, I'll talk to you whilst we're having a drink. And possibly a tea. So I think that's more than our time. Thank you.